All right, welcome back to the Softest Fantasy Football Show. We are trying to go every day of the week this year. Not every day of the week, 5 days a week, maybe more. But yeah, so it's gonna be shorter episodes and then one long episode. I don't know when the long episodes are gonna start. So if you look forward to that, I just figured we'd start with one news or two news articles that I just saw from last night. You probably were asleep. Cooper Cup had a hamstring injury from yesterday. so,
I saw that this morning.
yeah,
Yep.
Corbin and I were talking about how Cooper Cup could just explode this year and die, and having a hamstring injury running a single route in practice is not a good sign for that. Michael Thomas is also slow working back into something. He's probably going to be nothing for the Saints. Yeah, that's pretty much it with the news for today.
Those are your two newses for the day.
Yeah. Do you have any
Very
news?
nice. Nope, no. No news to speak of. The only news that I'll bring up is like if anybody ever an actual player like slides into my DMs or something. So you
Okay.
can handle like the regular people news, and then I'll let everybody know that like you
When
know like yeah like last week like Josh Jacobs he tweeted me or xed me or whatever it's called now, and he was like, hey, I'm not coming back unless I get paid. So Zamir White, RB10. That's where I'm
Wow.
drafting him.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
Well, yeah. Keep us updated with the DMs of players that you get.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah. I'll make sure next time. I wasn't prepared today, but next time I'll screen grab it so I can
Yeah.
pop it up here for you guys.
Yeah. That'll probably boost our viewership knowing that you get
Yep.
DMs from
getting
players.
getting those. Yeah, because
Inside
like
scoops.
I care more about the relationship with these guys than I do the fantasy production. So I
Yeah.
keep up with them. Hey, how you doing? Where's your mental health? And that
do, you,
sort of thing.
do you need to take a few weeks off or something like that?
Yeah, 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 yep. Hey, you're doing great, man. You're doing great. Just like fake a back injury or something so you can get traded.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
Jonathan Taylor.
yeah, 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 yeah. I'm
Oh,
not
man.
supposed to tell people that was my advice, but
Yeah.
that was my advice. Yeah.
All right, so today's episode, we're going to go through our top offenses that we think are going to be good offenses for you to target in your draft. Not just players, but just they're overall good. And I didn't have a lot of time to work on this because it was last night, but
Sprung it on you last night.
yeah.
Yep.
But I just looked up one article and just top offenses that people think. And I just looked at the list and picked mine from there. And I know you did a
Yeah.
lot of research on yours.
Yeah. A sketchy research, but research nonetheless.
Yeah. So we'll
So,
go through
you know,
probably three teams each. I think that'll be enough time for today.
okay. Yep. You wanna start us off with what your number one was?
Yeah, sure. So I have the 49ers as my number one offense.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a surprise. Let me scroll way down to see where I have the 49ers.
Are they in your top 12?
They're in my top 12. So I struggled with this a lot. I did a top 17.
Oh, wow.
Uh, but San Francisco I had at 10.
Wow.
Mainly, so I started to work on them. I only got through my top 5 diligently in preparation for today. And I started to work on my next 5. And when I got to San Francisco and I put in Purdy question mark as the starting quarterback,
Yeah.
I was like, I don't need to work on this one.
Yeah.
But let's hear your argument for it.
So I looked at Brock Purdy's games that he played, and he did very well, but he also played really bad teams, so that could be why he did really well. Like
Hmm.
he was 18th, 8th, 14th, 13th, 9th, 5th, and he had that was his ranking in quarterback for the weeks that he started,
Yep.
and he had no practice time with the team at all. So I'm thinking
Yep.
if he's healthy and they're they're working together. He's working together with the players. I think he'll be a good quarterback or a good enough quarterback for the 49ers. And their offense is just really good. The way I ranked the teams was like the top 2 wide receivers on the team, and then the running backs, and obviously just looking at the whole team, they have Christian McCaffrey, who's going to be insane, and
Yep.
they have Brandon Ayuk and Debo Samuel, and I think Brandon Ayuk and Debo Samuel are both like wide receiver 1/1A run or wide receivers this year. I think they could be that for the 49ers. So if one of them goes down, it might be it could open up for other wide receivers on their team this year. And then George Kittle is
Yep.
also somebody I think could be a very good tight end because Brock Purdy, in the games that he played, was just targeting the crap out of him. So that's why they're my number one team. I just think
Yep.
they're coached well, and Brock Purdy just is a great quarterback for the coach just to tell him what to do, and he does it well. So that's why I picked them.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I don't think I could tell you who their third wide receiver is. Like off the top of my head, I know Ayuk and Samuel, and I know that both of them will play 6 to 9 games through the season, and then the other concern that I have with Kittle had, I think it was 10 touchdowns last year, so that's not going to happen again because he was also only averaging 5 catches a game or something very small compared to his touchdown stuff. So I agree with you that this offense has the potential to be great. But one of the things that I'm largely worried about is their offensive line has gotten significantly worse. So their offensive line is ranked 18th going into this year. And I think that dropped rankings-wise by about 10 spots. So, which is really important. That allows you to have the running game that they had. That allows the quarterback to have more time than he should. And it allows the wide receivers to run routes longer than they would typically be allowed. So if that really is their largest regression, then I that's why I have them at 10th. And also quarterback questions all over the place.
Yeah, with a bad offensive line, that could make Christian McCaffrey even better. Just getting dump offs, and if they're
I'd agree, but then I think as a whole, it's a reduction.
Yeah.
And then of course that offensive line I think increases your chances of injury. Getting hit before you're ready and stuff like that. So
yeah.
It makes me nervous.
Yeah, I definitely have to look through offensive lines because I did not do that. But I think the players they have are just, I think, have the potential to be really good. Like Debo Samuel, if he's healthy, is a very good wide receiver.
Oh yeah, yep. He they had the seventh best offensive line last year. We dropped all the way to 18th.
So did that drop because they just had players quit or?
Well,
retire?
so yeah, so they had an awesome lineup where Trent Williams was hey, he's the best left tackle in the NFL. And then they had all these other pieces, and then and now they're not there, right? So it's not cool.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of offensive lines and rankings, we'll move on to my first pick, which is I have the Philadelphia Eagles, and this is, that I believe this because I can't stand the Eagles as a team.
Yeah.
My New England prejudice doesn't allow for it, and I would root for them in no ways. But they had the number one offensive line last year. They had no change in that ranking going into this year. And then I only think that they got better at the positions that they were looking to get better at, right? So it's still a very full backfield, but now you have Swift and Penny and Gainwell. So 3 guys that are all great producers, and then you put them behind the best offensive line in football. it's going to be a wild run game on top of Jalen Hurts running the way that he does. So so that's like a huge advantage. Goddard, if he can stay healthy, he's awesome. I mean, he was really great last year until he got hurt. And then even when he was trying to come back, he kind of lacked a lot of what he was doing in the beginning part of the season. And then they have two of the top 10 wide receivers from last year in Brown and Smith. So they're just – it's such a dangerous team. Like they can beat you in so many ways. It's a lot like San Francisco where you have these like really, really talented players, except they have a quarterback that's, when I think of Brock Purdy, I think of like Gardner Minshew and Baker Mayfield and Johnny Manziel. Like that would be a really fun league, from a personality perspective. But, I don't really know that that's great football, right?
Yeah.
Where Jalen Hurts has got a lot of tools at his disposal, and he's got the skill to utilize everything. So I haven't really looked into defenses yet, and so my only, kind of saving grace that I feel like I can say is like I hope the Eagles' defense sucks this year.
Yeah.
But if it does, then the offense is even more of a problem in the sense of they're going to be trying to keep up with teams and such, and so they're going to be trying to score as many points as possible.
I'm pretty sure they had the best defense last year, so I don't know if it's going to drop off to being bad, but
yeah, we'll see. I hope not, but I haven't looked, and so I'm just going to pretend in my head that they've got the 28th best defense, which again I would reinforce. I think they're going to have the best offense across the board, fantasy-wise.
Yeah, they were my number 2.
Yeah, like I could see them as a team having top 5 production from quarterback, receiver, and running back, and tight end.
You think that
it's all possible?
You think the running back would be top 5 with who?
DeAndre Swift, if they can actually utilize him in his supposed skill and get his attitude under control, that offensive line is incredible, and he's a catching running back. So like Jalen Hurts having the ability to, bootleg to a potential run to then dump off to DeAndre Swift, who's great once he gets the ball. Like it could be really, really powerful.
Yeah.
So I mean, Miles Sanders, who I don't see anybody talking about Miles Sanders. Let's see, what did he do last year? He had 196 fantasy points in PPR, which is it's Miles Sanders,
Yeah.
And so then you go like, hey, we got DeAndre Swift now in that position. It's scary. It's scary.
It is. They also are like the 49ers, and I don't think I could name their third wide receiver either.
Quintez Watkins, who almost scored 100 fantasy points last year.
Really?
As a third. Yeah.
Oh, wait, it's Quez Watkins.
Oh, Quez Watkins.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm thinking of somebody else.
103rd last year.
103?
No, that was his
rankings.
That's his this year consensus ranking is 103rd. He was 87th last year.
87th?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
yeah, it's just same boat of they got 2 really good wide receivers and then it drops off.
Right. Yep. It's not, I wouldn't say they have the best wide receiver core, certainly.
Yeah.
We'll get to those teams later. But actually, in my top five, most of them have 4 of them have 2 premier wide receivers, and then
my third one I think is the team you're thinking of that has a lot of good wide receivers or good decent wide receivers.
Okay. Decent wide receivers would be Cincinnati.
No, the Chiefs is my third team.
Oh, what?
I said decent. Like they have a
A
lot of
lot of
decent
decent.
wide receivers, probably more than any other team I can think of.
I mean, I think they have a lot of C rank receivers
I'd
with
say
the best
C. I'd
quarterback.
say C would be decent. Like decent's the same as C.
C is barely passing.
No, C's decent. Good is B, and then great is A.
Okay. So then, do you have like a tier above great? Because there's like, you
Yeah,
know,
S tier. That'd be
oh,
awesome.
okay.
Yeah,
So we're going anime rankings in
obviously.
fantasy football.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So get in. So Kansas City is your number two.
Number three. The Eagles are my number
Number
two.
three. Okay. So Calvin's, you got. Okay.
Yeah,
Hold on.
I have the 49ers, then the Eagles, then the Chiefs are my third. So I don't
Gotcha.
really need to talk about the Eagles because you did, and it's pretty much the
Yep.
same reason. And then you
Yep.
got Patrick Mahomes, who's nuts, like just absolutely insane. That's pretty much the only reason why you picked the Chiefs is because they have such depth in the wide receiver chart. It's hard to pick a good. There's not a good wide receiver on their team. There's just a lot of great or decent wide receivers that that he throws to. That's why I picked them. Is they have the, like if you look at their snaps and like points, it's not good. Like their snap percentage is spread out by a ton of wide receivers, which is you can't pick a good wide receiver on the team, but their just offense
Right.
overall is good.
Last year, Kansas City's top two scoring wide receivers had less points together than seven wide receivers last year, singular wide receivers last year. So
Wow.
two of the best wide receivers for Kansas City didn't beat seven of the wide receivers. I don't even think Kansas City has. Let me just double check. Last year, Kansas City did not have a top 36 wide receiver.
Yeah, no. And but somehow Patrick Mahomes was QB1 the pretty much the whole year.
Right. And he was QB1 by 30 points over Josh Allen,
Yeah.
fantasy wise. So, but I think that's because Patrick Mahomes, you get a splash of run-in touchdowns, right? So like I agree with you that so Kansas City is my third. Sorry, they're my number two pick.
Oh yeah, because
Uh,
you don't have the
so
49ers.
right, so you have Kansas City as three. I have them as two. Um, and and obviously like this is all dependent on health, right? But so like you love their wide receivers. Talk to me about their running backs.
they have they have a bad they have a what's the word when you have a committee. They have a committee of running backs, which is
Right.
if one of them goes down or two of them go down, then one of them is going to be really good, which
I
is
don't. I don't think so though, because last year that was the case, right? And um, I think it was Isaiah Pacheco who ended up scoring the most points last year, fantasy wise,
I think
and he only had 100.
McKinnon.
McKinnon,
Yeah,
okay, and he only had 140 fantasy points on the year.
yeah. So, well,
So
yeah. I don't know. Well, they did have him. He wasn't solo the whole time though. Like that's they're good.
yeah,
They're good running backs, but they just don't have the work as like other running backs do. They only have one or one backup or whatever. So
right.
it's tough in the running back zone. That's why I don't have them above like the 49ers or the Eagles even. The Eagles don't have as many running backs as that are going to be playing as much as the Chiefs. Like the Chiefs
I,
cycle through the
I
running backs a lot more.
I think the Eagles will though. Like between Swift and Penny and Gainwell, who are
Yeah, that is true.
like all three of them, I'd pick over like Pacheco and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So I I think that those running backs though are fine for who Kansas City is. I mean, obviously I have them third, right? So they're like you don't have like the Jamal Williams type, which is just like ground and pound type, right?
Yeah.
Because that's not how Kansas City plays. Kansas City is the Phoenix Suns with Mike D'Antoni, right? It is run and shoot and do it under 10 seconds, and we're just gonna kill you by 1,000 cuts, right?
Yeah.
Fast. We're all fast, right? And then Kelsey, obviously. I struggled with this. I had a hard time with like, hey, do I really want to keep Kansas City third with all these other great teams? But
Yeah, it's pretty much all on if Kelsey doesn't die because he's 34 years old. Like if he's out,
right,
their team goes down substantially, which is crazy that it all lies on a tight end doing that well.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think too, like part of the reason that Kelsey has the success he does is because teams are planning against Patrick Mahomes, and they have been for the last 3 years, which is we got to try our best to take away. Patrick Mahomes will throw a 50-yard bomb and score a touchdown, and that's demoralizing. And then our defense is on the field, not long enough, and then our offense gets tired. And Kansas City's weak point's always been the defense. So,
Yeah.
If they can stay kind of fresh and not get worn down, then that's the problem. So Kansas City's offensive line is ranked third this year. So they moved up a spot from last year.
Yeah.
So they got a little bit better. And everybody being healthy, you also have all these new wide receivers last year that didn't have an opportunity to play with Patrick Mahomes. If they can stay healthy, which Kadarius Toney looks like he can't stay healthy, but if he could, people do say his talent is incredible. It'd be nice to see it one day, especially with a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes. But yeah, I mean, so right now I have their wide receivers. This is contingent on health. It's Kadarius Toney, MVS, and then Sky Moore, which are all like last year. You wouldn't want any of them on your fantasy team.
No.
No. So we'll see how they do this year. It could be this one is my most worrisome pick. I could see them dropping significantly this year with just one or two things that go wrong. But I didn't want to build these rankings based on things going wrong.
Yeah, isn't that also like a superstition thing? Like you win the Super Bowl and then you're just die the next year, like the Rams.
Right. Yep. Your whole thing falls apart. But like you have years of what the Patriots did, right? And if Kansas City's replacing the Patriots as far as like the dynasty goes, then it might not be the case.
Yeah, they do have a good quarterback, and he's not old yet.
Right.
Yep.
All right, so you want to stop there? I need to do my third.
Yeah, you can do your third, and then that'll be good.
Okay, so my third team, this one is, I think this is so as much as like Kansas City makes me nervous at putting them at 2, this one I'm really reaching on this, but I've got Minnesota as 3.
Oh boy.
Third best offense. So I have them as the third best offense, and that makes me nervous. But we had this discussion, last night of like, hey, where's Kirk Cousins fall? Like, how good is he or how not good is he? And it's like I'm a Cousins believer, of course, and I believe in him in as much as like I don't know that he has the fortitude of Tom Brady, but I oftentimes would say like if he had like Tom Brady's mental capacity, skill wise, they're fairly close to each other, right? In the sense of like arm strength and kind of getting the ball to their wide receivers and such, accuracy, that sort of thing.
Did you DM him that?
Tom Brady said I was good he was like, hey, I had him over for dinner last night, and he's like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, obviously, I'm way smarter and handsomer, but
Yeah.
Outside of that, yeah, Kirk Cousins is like, if I'm an S tier, Kirk Cousins can be an A tier in skill. So
So you got the Tom Brady inside. He's actually Kirk Cousins is actually a good
yeah, he
quarterback.
was. It was like we were playing the charades game, and he was sitting in my lap actually, and that's when we had that conversation. But okay, so they have Justin Jefferson, who was the like probably a league winner for a lot of people last year, but had these incredible games. But you had Adam Thielen, who is wheelchair bound after this year. I don't. He's on Carolina, but we'll see how long he actually
He's a
plays and
wide
if he
receiver
can.
one too.
Right, right. Um, and then so this year they bring in Addison, who is phenomenal, or was in college, and um, like he'll have a if he can pick up on how Jefferson plays and such, then he should be able to also stretch the field and then create some problems. So like I could see very much like an AJ Brown, Devontae Smith type of relationship there, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and then Osborne had flashes of greatness, not last year but the year before, um, and I just think that like between Justin Jefferson and Thielen, and then also uh, Dalvin Cook, right? There just wasn't any space for him to kind of produce, or there really wasn't even a need for it. I think this year there will be a need for it, and I think that he will fill the Adam Thielen spot very well. Um,
Yeah.
and then Madison, right? He did fine when Dalvin Cook would get injured and such, and I think because the field gets stretched so much, the running backs have a little bit more liberty to be better than maybe they would be if they were kind of the focal point. Um, so I think Madison is like he's a downgrade from Dalvin Cook, but I don't know how far of a downgrade it is. I don't think it's that far. The real problem is the guy behind him. Uh, I I don't know anything about him, Ty Chandler, and so we'll see like if he's actually any good. And then you have T.J. Hawkinson, who is like a premier scoring tight end, right? And he only played a part of the season last year, so now they are going to get kind of this full reps and everything like that. And I could see him being very akin to like Kelsey if he stays healthy. Um, and then Kirk Cousins is kind of, let's say, like in the end of his prime, but he's not like Aaron Rodgers yet, where you're like, when's he gonna suck big time?
Yeah.
Um, so that's why. I mean, the other thing is their offensive line is ranked 15th this year, and I get my offensive line rankings from PFF. So if you want to go to their website, they've got a great fantasy reference website. They do a lot of good work over there. So that worries me. It's not a big downgrade from last year. Um, and then they play in a division that stinks. So
Yep.
it's not like some of these other teams where they're going to be playing against world beaters every single week. It's more like, hey, you're playing Green Bay again. You should be able to crush them.
Yeah.
The Bears, stuff like that. Yep.
They're
Where
risky. Yeah. I know. Like the crazy stat is they've won. Their like point differential was negative, but their record was positive somehow, which is
yeah, yep,
crazy.
yep,
So like
yeah,
that could
because they
easily
got
go
they got
south.
blown out.
Yeah.
They got blown out in certain games, but blowouts, like getting blown out, is great for your fantasy team, right?
Yeah,
Then
that's
you're
true.
trying to catch up, and
Yeah.
you're throwing the ball a ton and that sort of thing. So yeah, but like quarterback wise, uh, Kirk Cousins was quarterback 8 last year.
Yeah.
Fantasy wise. Obviously Jefferson was number one. Melvin Gordon was like, I think he was RB 5 or 6 on the year, at least out of the teams that I ranked. And then uh, T.J. Hawkinson was, out of the teams that I ranked, tight end 3.
Yeah.
So they have a lot of elite guys, and then if you're grabbing some of these guys and somebody gets hurt or whatever, they have a lot of bandwidth for fantasy point capture. Right?
Yeah.
It's great.
I'm hoping that the tight ends this year are better. Like, and I think there will be a few breakouts for tight ends too. But hopefully, because just having Travis Kelsey be way better than everybody it makes your tight end choices suck.
Right. It makes like the idea of like if he's gonna do that again, like him being a top 5 draft pick,
Makes
like
sense.
potentially worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So all right, what
So
did we get through? I got through. I didn't even have the
3.
Vikings in my top 6.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we got through 3.
That's
So we'll do
yep.
another 3 tomorrow. And
Okay.
yeah. So I got to get better at ending the podcast. So
Yep.
thanks for watching. We're on Spotify now. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can listen on Spotify if you're driving somewhere. And if you're listening on Spotify somehow, thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.